Hey, how you doing? This is John, and welcome to John's Long Box. It's clobbering time, and as always, Marcus is showing up with us. Oh,
Hey, what's up?
let me put our banners on. I always forget how to do
Let's
this.
turn this off. There we go. That's better. Sorry about that.
No problem. How do I even do this? Oh, okay. Yeah, there we go. There we go. All right. So I turn it off when it's just me, because who knows? Who cares? But anyway, this week on It's Clobbering Time, we're going to be talking about Raven from the. I always say the new Teen Titans. I don't know if they
I
still
think
go.
it's the new Teen Titans.
And then Magick from the New Mutants. Oh yeah, so it's the new people. New Mutants is only what 40 years old. At what point are they the old mutants?
I love the new. I really like the New Mutants.
It's funny, man. I look back at my honest reactions to comics, and sometimes I just have to laugh. When they announced the New Mutants graphic novel,
I remember it.
I was pissed off. I was like, "What? X-Men? Each team gets one comic book, and I will accept like a solo comic. It's like Superman can get Superman and the Justice League, but the X-Men, like, there could be, but a whole nother X-Men related team, they're just milking us dry for that 35 cents or whatever it was, So I ended up loving it.
You never knew how much they were going to milk you dry.
I know. So a second title back then, oh my God.
Oh my God, yeah. But it really wasn't the X-Men. It was the New Mutants. It was a separate title.
Right. And that's what I like about it is they kept it their own thing. They had their own enemies. And it wasn't just interchangeable. Like, if you read any X-Men comic book, it's just like, it doesn't matter.
Well, they had their own thing, and one didn't have to do with the other. I know it wasn't the most exciting book, but the one thing that I'd like to dispel, that I don't think they keep on saying it was about to be canceled. It was the lower selling of the X-Men comics. It wasn't one of the lower selling of the Marvel comics. That is complete fabrication to make the artist who will not be named to look a little better. He has a little bit of his own history, if you know what I'm saying.
I think a few people like to reinvent themselves,
Well, I went to and they didn't invite me to the after party, and they ignored me. Oh my gosh, I'm supposed to be so upset. Oh, I created everything, and meanwhile, poor Fabian's left in the dark. Joe Kelly's left.
Yeah, well, Fabian probably insulted people.
But there's some stuff he posts is just great. It's just so great, and he does important things on his observations. But I don't really listen to observations much because I don't know. I can't listen to him.
I
don't mean that meanly.
I'm not a fan of his art. I'm not a fan of. We're talking about Rob Liefeld. I'm not a fan of his art, and I'm not a fan of his characters. But I like him. So I always wondered if we would meet, would he just be like, "Well, you don't like my creation? You like dismiss me?" I think I like the fact that you're a fan of comic books. I like the fact that he's enthusiastic about comic books. But he did a couple of things that, like, he worked with Robert Kirkman on a comic called it's gonna drive me nuts, Outcast or something like that.
Oh yeah. I remember seeing that.
And it only lasted 3 issues because he just gave crap art, and Robert Kirkman's like, I can't publish this. And then Rob basically drew stick figures and gave it to somebody else to draw. He's like, I'm paying you.
I know some stuff I can't say about him. I'll tell you some other time. I can't say it over the internet. And the other thing is that, he is like a Kickstarter that he never fulfilled.
Yeah.
And we all are killing certain people in this sphere. I like to do this sphere. You know what I'm saying? That about being late. And this guy he's supposed to be the legend of legends.
And it's not like he doesn't have the money.
Even completed. And when you ask him, he blocks you and he gets defensive. So
it's not like, there's a guy right now just announced today that basically his book ain't coming out.
Which is that, Jimmy?
Yeah, I didn't want to say anything, but
I didn't look well, it's all over. It's on X. I didn't read into it.
I guess I'm not telling tales out of school. What did he raise? $30,000?
He did more. He did like 50. He did more than Death Raider, which is late, but at least we know it's coming.
But my point is, I did about with everything and personal sales that weren't on. I did about $9,000 on my comic, and it came out. And all I did was type on a computer. I had to pay everybody else. I had to pay an artist. I had to pay a colorist. I had to pay a letterer.
And the other thing is,
I had to pay a format, printing, and my comic
pre-press guy. Yeah.
If I made $35,000 and can't make a book, and he's the artist. What happened to that money?
I don't know.
You know what I mean? Like,
they give him. He did have a heart failure during that thing.
I broke my neck.
Yeah, but he did have heart failure. I mean, it's a similar thing. You know what I mean? Like, you can't. Yeah, but if he needed help, he didn't ask for the help. He could have asked any of these guys for help.
And he could have said, listen, I have heart failure. This comic ain't coming out for another 2 years. And I think people are forgiving if you just are upfront. Well, I said, I broke my neck, I'm screwed, my comic ain't coming out for another year, I don't think people would get too upset.
I completely agree. But if he had trouble before that with a colorist, then he could ask Andy, he could ask Ethan, he could ask Graham, and they all would have helped him.
And you know what?
And he didn't answer. They didn't know until it was too late.
I'm working with 2 phenomenal colorists that I could afford. And
exactly.
And I made a $9,000 color.
There's plenty of colorists. I completely agree. And you know what? And if Oscar couldn't color, he'd find somebody to help you out that he knows. I mean, this is how it works. And he didn't ask anybody any help.
But he would jump at it, and it would elevate the work. Oscar.
Exactly. Well, I didn't back the book. It seemed derivative to me. It seemed derivative kind of what Andy was doing, Cordrath, which I didn't appreciate. He was learning how to draw on the book, which, again, he's an inker. Like, I want to draw books. Why? You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to get that book. I'd rather have that to be a younger guy or a new guy like you struggling up than some guy who has a David Finch cover, I didn't back it.
All I know is
I don't think about it that much.
So not to tell anybody what to do, but I had that money, and I talked to Luke. I said, I don't want this money coming in my account in drips and drabs. It's gonna be hard for me to keep track of it. You know what I mean? Like, so I was like, how do I shut it off so I don't get the money? So Luke told me what to do. I shut the money off so it stayed in Stripe. I didn't touch that money.
Lawyers put money. My dad was a lawyer. They put money in escrow. That's why they have escrow accounts.
Yeah.
That's for this certain thing, and they're not supposed to touch it. And if they do touch it, they can get in a lot of trouble.
So I just, and I'll tell you, man, being out of work for 4 months and there's $6,000 sitting in an account over here.
That's hard.
You just got to do it. And again, I'm talking, I don't know what's going on in his house. You know what I mean?
I know.
So so be quiet. I shouldn't.
But you know what? We have to get these things out in the open. We don't mean so much disrespect, so that we can learn from that mistake. Not just him. We all want to learn and not get into that same issue. What's the best way? Be upfront. Ask for help. It's
be upfront. Yes.
Yeah. Don't be embarrassed about it.
I asked for help, and people were so helpful. Like, one guy said, I forget who it was, but they're like, who's doing your pre-press? And I was like,
right. I remember.
What the hell is pre-press? Now, I had a bunch of pre-press guys tripping over. I'll help you. I asked for a graphic designer to help me with the cards. People were,
you got a graphic designer to help with the cards. Yeah, absolutely.
Guys did great work, but I just couldn't afford them. I felt really bad, But,
No, I know. It's a criticism. I don't, but but we all have to learn from that.
Yeah. Good evening, Marcus in chat. How you doing, Ben? Dale, I got the impression he doesn't think. Oh, I didn't know that. Okay, that changes things a little bit. But you know what?
But that's true. That's possible. That's like he had a lot of tough time recovering from that.
There's another guy that made $35,000 on a comic book that he didn't deliver, and then he's showing pictures of himself buying Xboxes. And I'm like, dude,
it's worse in the tech field with stream, with Indiegogo and Kickstarter not fulfilling stuff and stuff being late. Comics is just the tip of the iceberg. So crowdfunding on its whole is a tough thing.
this other guy whose name I'm not going to mention, you have a book that didn't deliver. You just made another $35 and you showed pictures of yourself buying video games. It just doesn't look right. I'm not saying
it doesn't, and you're right
on it, but the appearance of impropriety is also impropriety, So,
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, let's talk about It's Clobbering time. If anybody is in the chat, we got a bunch of people watching. I always like to filibuster a bit with Mark.
Like, who was the? Yeah, we can talk about. We could gossip
talk about anything until a couple of people filter in. This is the link if you want to join us. Again, we were talking at the very beginning that it's kind of funny that it's the new Teen Titans and the New Mutants, and we're talking about 40-year-old comics, But at one point, did they become the old mutants? But
they were supposed to become X-Men,
right? And it's funny because, like I was saying, I'm an irrational person. They're milking us for money, but it did. New Mutants was its own thing. It existed in the Xavier Mansion, but they had their own foes. They had their own stories, like it. And it's not like Wolverine was just walking around fighting to boost sales too. Marvel had a very good, let each comic have their own flavor back then. It was just known that Spider-Man wasn't a team guy. He might guest star in the Avengers, but he doesn't join the Avengers.
No, I agree with that.
I like the Defenders. You wondered, did the Defenders even exist in Marvel? They never interacted. You know what I mean? And they were like their own little corner. Doctor Strange being the exception.
They had their great first crossover ever, and when I was a kid, I loved that, the Avengers Defenders crossover. I still like it. I reread it all the time. I love that.
But you read the Defenders, and you're like, when was the last time you saw Hawkman or Valkyrie outside of the Defenders?
Exactly.
And nowadays, everybody's an Avenger. If you got a Marvel comic, you're an Avenger. Like there's, but I'm being long-winded and saying back in the 80s and 90s, every comic was allowed to have its own flavor and taste, and like to be a little child when you're on your plate, the corn didn't touch the peas, and the peas didn't touch the turkey, and the turkey didn't touch the mashed potatoes. That's the way Marvel was. Everything was just on the same plate, but nothing touched. If I may be like a child,
right?
Nowadays they just give you a bowl of chili. Everything's all mixed together. Marvel is all Marvel. But what Harrowberg? Hell, this is a good one. Sexy Magical Girls. I have to be Team Raven because of Perez, but that's just how it is. Can't argue with that. But then again, Magic has Arthur Adams, drawing her 2 times. So Marcus, I was filibustering trying to see if anybody else wanted to pop in. But it looks like it's you and I. So who do you want to champion?
I guess I'll go for Magic. I was just reading up. I know Raven too. I didn't get all the Teen Titans one, much like you. Perez went to DC. I'm not buying those DC comics, but I've gotten the trade paperback since, and I eventually got some Perez comics.
Good. I'm glad because I know Raven better than I know Magic.
I still have a soft spot for his Avengers when he first started, that style he had then. To me, it was almost it wasn't as detailed. And his stuff later is probably more brilliant, but there's something different, Anyway, besides that, so Magic is Colossus' sister, Eliana.
Is there a character named Zatara? Does Zatanna have a sister, or did he just spell it wrong? I'm not being facetious.
I thought Zatara was Zatanna's dad.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Okay.
He was kind of like who's that character? Flash Gordon.
Girls beaten by a 45-year-old magician. Yeah, Zatara is Zatanna's dad. Okay.
But he looked like Mandrake the Magician.
Yeah. That was one of the best deaths in comics of all time. In Swamp Thing.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Sure, that death probably only lasted 8 minutes because he's a magic guy, right? But that was great.
Well, talking about deaths, these characters have died a few times.
Yep. So tell us about Magic.
So Magic is Ilyana Rasputin, Colossus' sister. She was she actually has a cameo in Giant Size X-Men 1. She's a cameo as Colossus' sister for years.
I forgot about that.
And no, me too. And she didn't even was name. She was just Colossus' sister. We didn't know her name.
Yeah, she just showed up.
We knew she was Ilyana. And then she was kidnapped by Arcade at one point, and they got her back. And then finally, Belasco. Now, Belasco's not Mephisto, but he was Belasco. and Belasco took her down to the limbo dimension. Belasco was a villain that was in Kazar a lot. The Brent Anderson and Bruce Jones Kazar comic. He fought Belasco. I think they borrowed Velasco from that, and then she was, and she stayed there, and I guess not too much time passed, but she was there at least 7 years. She grew from like a 7-year-old to a 14 or 15-year-old.
Like, yeah, in a week, our time.
In like a week, yeah, our time, but it was completely Belasco completely corrupted her soul. She was bullied by Sim, the big monstrous sidekick of Belasco. I'm not sure. What was the, why would Belasco want to do that? But he did.
Yeah, there was never really any reason other than I'm Belasco.
This was in a 4-issue limited series. Back in when the 60 says 1983 or 84 ish, and and he's a bloodstone pendant, and then she ends up with a soul sword and a tail and fangs when she becomes evil or evil-ish. She uses her powers, and she becomes the Earth a decade older, or no time has passed, and then she joins the New Mutants.
Right.
That's her basic spot. Those comics are kind of funny because it was the one comic that kind of brought John Buscema back from drawing only Conan to drawing Marvel mainstream superhero comics again, because it was an X-Men comic. His
royalties,
bonus and sales were so much more. He got so much more money doing that than he did Conan, that he ended up doing the Avengers after doing 2 issues of this.
Yeah, I remember she was like a MacGuffin at first. She was.
Well, they didn't really know what to do with her.
It was she was Colossus's little sister. That's right. In Giant Size X-Men #1. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
And then Arcade stole her. I forgot about that. So that was her 2 appearances, and she didn't have any dialogue. She was just a MacGuffin, like Amanda Steffen, who later becomes a witch. Don't you think that would have stopped her from getting kidnapped by Arcade? You know what I mean? But whatever.
Yeah. I'm trying to figure out. I don't remember. I haven't read those comics in forever. So I'm trying to figure out, she defeats Belasco down in Limbo, which is like a hell. So it's kind of like Mephisto.
Yeah, I think they picked it out at the last minute. I think it was supposed to be hell, but they changed it to Limbo because it was full of demons and fire and everything.
Yeah, fire, and they changed Shadow Cat into an actual cat for a couple issues.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure why.
And I remember it was like a nexus between multiverses because,
right.
Multiverses. Well, but I remember when they were looking for her, they found a Wolverine skeleton,
right?
Adamant, and then Sim, Belasco's right-hand demon, he's so strong he just breaks the adamantium claws and uses it as a toothpick, and then he throws it right into Colossus. I remember and Sim always had that Ralph, not Ralph Cramden. What's the other guy's? Art Carney's character's name? He had that Ed Norton. He had a cigar and he had the Ed Norton vest. And I was fascinated by this comic. I was the whole concept of the Bloodstones. There was these 5, literally it was her blood that would go onto the 5-pointed pentagram and form a stone. And when the last stone was created, her soul was belonged to Belasco. And they kind of hinted that he wanted her soul because she was an innocent little girl. And, out of all the innocent little girls, he happens to kidnap the one who's related to the X-Men. But that's the way comic books work.
Right, right.
And she created one when, I forget, but when they rescued her, she only had 2 Bloodstones created. And she didn't want to use her powers and her full extent of it. So to me, it was kind of like Spawn. Spawn had that power meter that he was afraid.
And she actually had armor, not this little bikini thing.
Right. When she first appeared, every time her mutant ability was to make a disc, a teleportation.
She had a teleportation disc.
Right. She teleported like Nightcrawler. She teleported, but she would create a disc so a whole group of people could go, and it obviously went through dimensions. And she could also throw these discs kind of like weapons at people. And if I remember correctly, reading in editorials, she was supposed to be turning into a female Colossus. Every time she armored on, a little segment was more and more and more that she was going to be a girl, but it kind of stopped at her shoulder.
I think they got more interested in having her use her soul sword instead of being a Colossus. So her sword, the sword that come, not this giant sword, but it was more of a regular sword like she's wearing in the front, as opposed to that video game sword they have in the back. And
Heroin Burke Limbo was the place. You had to
for evil side.
It was how low could you go? You had to dance to calypso music. Yeah.
She had to fight her evil side every time she used it. Rain Sinclair had to call her back from limbo. You can be with us. She turned back into a little girl for a while. And then she went to Russia to visit with her parents. They got murdered because why not? Why wouldn't anybody not get murdered?
You can't rule of comic books. You can't have a happy family.
Can't have a happy family. That's boring. You can't be married. You can't have a happy family.
And if I remember correctly, the sword only hurt you if you were evil or something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
So it was this magic.
But she was best friends with Kitty Pryde.
Well, they were the only two that were like roughly the same age on the team for a long time. And they were roommates. And
she got we don't really know roommates. You know what that means these days.
Yeah, I know.
But she got the legacy virus, and she was one of the only mutants to actually die from the legacy virus. I remember that legacy virus. Everybody's got the legacy virus. Here comes Strife.
Doug Ramsey also
got the legacy virus.
Didn't Doug Ramsey also die?
Yes. Did he die of the legacy virus?
Oh, I forget.
Ramsey died. Don't tell Vaughn Coleman, but Doug Ramsey was a ridiculous character.
I liked. Well, I'll defend him, but not to the point where he does. But I like the concept that he was a mutant who had a non-combat power.
Yeah, I could understand that.
And he shouldn't be going on adventures. He should be like the guy in the headphones.
He sent him on adventures. That's why I'm like, he was ridiculous.
Oh, you can understand languages? Oh, good. We're going to go to Asteroid M and fight the Juggernaut.
But Kitty Pryde was supposed to be the computer and language person. So he was kind of like, why? Why? Oh, is she Kate Pryde now? I don't even want to know what Kitty Pryde is now. I think she's a lesbian.
First, my favorite. Okay.
I think she's a lesbian now, Kitty Pryde.
They all are. Who isn't?
Well, I have theories I should not say on YouTube about lesbianism.
So she also evolved into a spellcaster.
She did.
Right. So she took the name Magick with the K.
Through the whole 90s, she wasn't around because she was dead. They brought her back in the 2000s.
Right. She defeated Belasco and became the Queen of Limbo.
Right. That's true.
And Sim had to like pay homage to her. And there was another little demon too that I can't remember, but it was Sim with the SYM, Belasco, and then there was a third like comical demon. I just drive me nuts that I can't remember. But she had like a big story arc, but she kind of like you said, she disappeared for a while. It's almost like they didn't know what to do with her.
Well, they killed her off, and they kept her down until way later, and then like she's drawn in sexy pictures by David Finch and stuff.
Yeah.
So in usual time, anything after 2000, it's very difficult because it's so you could have read them all and still not know what's going on because the X-Men history is so complicated, and in the DC history they changed.
Read them all and still have no idea what was going on.
Back then, yeah, through the 90s. Oh, they got married. Yeah, all right.
Yeah, so as far as I know, could anybody fill me? Did they ever do the fifth Bloodstone? Did they drop that just like Spawn dropped the Hellmeter?
Hope Summers. Good gosh.
Third Limbo Demon be Nestor? Was it, guys? I'm asking because I don't remember, but I remember there was Marvel for whatever reason, and almost a spoiler for Heroic Tales, but that house in Westchester was like a focal point for like demonic activity. You had the Nagari Demon Stone that you remember.
Right, that was Northern Westchester too.
That famous story that the one with Kitty Pryde, when she fought it by herself. Then there was like Belasco. There was a lot of people exaggerate the mutant. Oh my God, we're mutants. Nobody loves it. But that for most of my X-Men reading, they were like every fourth or fifth story. Most of it was demons, space whales, other supervillains.
Well, they didn't. They laid into that like even in the '60s off and on, but that wasn't a popular thing people want to read about. So, they had to go in and out of it. And well, it's all because of that graphic novel, X-Men. What's that one?
With Man Kills.
Yeah, that's really cemented that whole line. And that was very good.
It was good. It was a good story. Yeah, it was a good. There's 2 X-Men stories that I'm tired of. God's Love Man Kills. I just reread it, believe it or not, because I realized I got the 7th printing and it drove me nuts. I had to go get a first printing.
Of course. I think I had the first printing.
And then, so I reread it because I bought it. And then the other one was Days of Future Past, which is a phenomenal.
Oh, they've overdone Days of Future Past. Days of Future is phenomenal.
That goddamn story. Oh, jeez.
That's because that Claremont and Byrne thing. I mean, you could say anything about Claremont, but if you go back and read early Claremont Cockrum, and then Claremont Byrne, it's just seamless up until Cyclops leaves the X-Men and Byrne leaves. And then after that, it became in all Claremont's hands. There was no Byrne to keep him down. And there was the Claremont, Byrne has and had a love for originality, much like you do, original characters. Like he really wanted to do like the black and yellow costume and the original characters. And so he kept the original ideas of even the new X-Men, whereas, Claremont's going all off over here and he's going off over there. We're going to do a funny thing. So they were a good team that way. But when he did FF, he kept a much better focus than Claremont did on the X-Men.
Yeah, he that's the first thing he did is returned them to the original Fantastic Four. He even made Ben Grimm lumpy again instead of chiseled.
Yeah, I like that. I liked his Ben Grimm, as a matter of fact. His way of drawing Ben Grimm, they still kind of draw him the same way today.
Yeah. That's one of the things I remember him saying is that he goes, it's impossible to keep track of his body, but you got to have a consistent face. And that was the face that he used. So again, Elanya Rasputin, and it always made me laugh because the name Rasputin is not a name. It means the wretched from Rasputin the Man.
They think it's a
basically a nickname. But so Peter the Wretched is what his name translates to, Piotr Rasputin. But it's just a cool Russian sounding name that's not really a full on name. But anyway, she has her own story. She was captured by demons. She was raised in limbo. She killed her captor. She came back tainted and different. She lost out on her childhood was that of survival in an alien hellscape, literally. And then she finds out she's a mutant. She dies. She comes. So is
she a mutant? I mean,
well, wasn't
what's her mutant powers really?
Oh, the teleportation ring is
the teleportation discs. Yeah. I don't know. They stretched that mutant thing.
Yeah. And now she's like a spellcaster. She's what, like
right? She learned the black magic from Belasco and the white magic from Storm, which confuses me because I missed what Storm had white magic. But
it was, remember, her limbo was a crossroads of all other dimensions. So remember, I told you there was a Wolverine skeleton that's
right. So she met another
she met Storm from
I
that.
Remember now.
Lost her mutant.
I remember. Yeah, that older looking
like a shaman. So
I remember that.
That's right. While she was in limbo, she was raised by another universe dimensional Storm, the magic spellcaster. God, I get annoyed just saying stuff like that, but whatever.
That was early on. That
was early on, and it wasn't in the face, and she didn't have her own spin-off comic. You know what I mean? It kind of worked. It kind of worked for the time. But anyway, so that's her story. She's a pretty. Now that I'm saying all this stuff, she was a more fleshed out character than I realized.
And she's a pretty powerful character as well.
Right.
She's not powerful. I mean, I know that. Well, we're going to go through Raven.
The ability to teleport is an immense.
And Raven became immensely powerful.
And she's not like Nightcrawler. could grab you, Marcus, and teleport a mile and be tired.
I'm too fat for my.
Well, that's why he's tired. But
okay.
Alanya could teleport you like to the other side of the planet with like a car, you know.
They never did give him. Did they ever give Nightcrawler? Like we're gonna do Nightcrawler at one point. Did they ever give Nightcrawler extra powers?
After during the Cockroach run, it was like he was discovering new powers every week. The invisibility, the stick to walls.
Well, he had invisibility. He could stick to walls at the beginning. He was invisible in the shadows.
Yeah.
That Cockrum loved Nightcrawler, and Nightcrawler was a big star early on, and Byrne hated Nightcrawler and loved Wolverine.
Right. Yeah.
And Cockrum did not like Wolverine all that much.
We said the name Belasco 9,000 times, so I had to look up Belasco because I like Belasco literally translates to Little Raven. The name Belasco
just named some of these characters. They didn't look it up. That sounded like a demon character to them.
Right. It means Little Raven or Crow. The name is derived from the
Let me look him up because I want to see who created him.
So there you go. It means little crow. But
he was such a big deal at Marvel Comics around 81.
Well, the Belasco was a character in The Great Gatsby. So
right. No, I know. But he created by I was right. He's created by Bruce Jones and Brent Anderson, and he first appeared in Kazar the Savage in February of 82. Did you ever read that series, Kazar?
Yeah, I love that series.
That's a great series. You know, I named my cat Zabu.
There's an issue where he fights Thanos, and it's good because he doesn't beat Thanos; he outwits him.
But that was the earlier ones. That's not this one. This is the earlier. This is 82. That was Mark Waid.
Bruce Jones ones. They were some of the first direct market only comics.
Right. That's right.
Yeah,
that was a great series.
That was.
And Brent Anderson's a terrific artist. And influential artist, as a matter of fact.
It was a good because I was a fan of Bruce Jones because of Twisted Tales.
Right, I had those too.
Doesn't Nightcrawler travel through limbo as well? Yeah, he travels through like another dimension, and that's where
my favorite thing is when he first started Nightcrawler. They just said he teleported, and nobody thought twice about it.
Right.
And when they have to come up with a reason, well, he must go somewhere. Where does he go?
Right.
You know, so like. Having the reasons we all have that, you know.
I like when they have reasons, but at a certain point, Superman just has heat vision.
At some point, in none of these, the Marvel world and the DC world, these worlds are not as fully realized or thought out as your world in Heroic Tales because nobody really planned it out that way. It became organic, and there's so many hands in the pot. So having a couple of things that are unexplained is okay.
Right. Even Tolkien didn't explain a few things. You know, when he asked him about Tom Bombadil, he was just like, Tom Bombadil is Tom Bombadil. Like, I don't even know.
Everybody loves Tom Bombadil.
He said, well, his coat is blue and his boots are yellow.
I have to reread that book. I read that in college.
All right, so I'm gonna bring down Alanya, and we're gonna talk about Raven. So, as far as I know, Raven debuted in now I got to sneeze. She debuted in the sneeze. She debuted. Did they show up? No, that was Infinity Incorporated. But they showed up in Justice League, an issue of Justice League as an insert, right? That was the first appearance.
Yeah, that insert. I got. Yeah.
Yeah, DC did that for a while. So if you got All-Star Squadron, I forget what issue, it introduced the
it had the new Teen Titans insert, and they eventually reprinted
that. All-Star Squadron had Infinity Incorporated, and the Justice League
I miss
Titans.
All-Star Squadron. I love those books. I got those in the past. I love those two characters.
There's something about World War II and superheroes that just goes together so well.
I created a World War II superhero once.
Hitler, man.
Well, he didn't punch Hitler though.
But so she debuted, and then Marv Wolfman, George Perez were the creators. She was new to the new Teen Titans, and the Teen Titans were the sidekicks that formed their own team. So you had Robin, Wonder Girl, and Wonder Girl was created for the original Teen Titans, right? She showed up in the Teen Titans series first before Wonder.
Well, I don't know.
Yeah,
Maybe she was in Wonder Woman because they had Wonder Baby for a long time. I mean, Wonder Woman was a fairly silly comic in the 60s.
Yeah. I didn't know this. I think it was Logic's Finest it told me, and then that Bullseye debuted in Nick Fury Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. 15. I always thought Frank Miller made him up for Daredevil.
I thought Bullseye was created by Marv Wolfman and Bob Brown for Daredevil, like Daredevil 130.
Oh, so yeah, look it up. But
I'll look it up.
Originated in Daredevil, but what do I know?
But it wasn't. He wasn't created by. I know that he was not created by Frank Miller.
So what do I know? And he's a horrible guy to fight in Marvel United. Oh my God, if you watch those videos, Bullseye was wiping us out every game. But anyway, so she was created. She was like the impetus to get the new Teen Titans together. So there was this girl that used empathy powers, which were like vaguely described, so they could be whatever they needed to be at that particular moment. And Starfire crashed on Earth. Robin and Cyborg, they all saw this. They saw they're fighting the Gordian slavers. Starfire went through a lot. There's a character that has.
I know.
Yeah, she was basically
tortured by her sister.
No, that wasn't you, Logic's Finest. Who was it? Was it Old Dirty Fatty? I forget.
It's I looked it up. It's Daredevil 131, and it's officially created by Marv Wolfman and John Romita Sr.
Oh, okay. So he wasn't in.
Bob Brown drew him in the comic.
Okay, so I was right in that he was created in Daredevil, but I was wrong because I thought it was Frank Miller. Okay.
Right, but I had all those. I bought all those Daredevils when I was a kid.
But anyway,
John Romita.
She kind of like it is. Did she manipulate Wally West? Kid Flash.
Yes.
To love her or whatever, and she got so they got Starfire, but she kind of used her emotional manipulation powers to keep the team together, and I think
she brought the team together,
right,
to fight her dad.
Right. She knew her father is Trigon. Like
that, I remember all that. Yeah.
He was this demon ruler of Azarath, right? Like another dimensional Earth. And her mother, I forget her mother's name, but her mother was an Earthling who basically joined a cult and got seduced by these cult members. And like in Rosemary's Baby, they I don't know if they tricked her or if she was just so gung-ho that she basically lay with Trigon in human form and gave birth to Raven.
That's really creepy.
Then she started to realize like Raven was going to be, her daughter was going to be the son of the daughter of the devil. So she either weaved a portal or got somebody and basically like got rid of her, like go, get out of here, save yourself kind of thing. So her mother was like betrayed. Now the name Trigon, it always bothered me because it means three shapes. You know what I mean? Trigon. It's just one of those names that don't fit, but it sounds cool off the tongue. Trigon. It's a powerful sounding name, and he's that goofy looking guy with the antlers. But the double set of eyes, I'll find a picture of him. The double set of eyes is so unsettling.
It is unsettling.
Yeah.
It is unsettling. Like I said, I got all the trades.
Yeah, there was some. I'll try to get a good picture of him. A lot of these pictures are modern, but the way George Perez drew him was
especially in that when they went to Baxter paper, that one number 5, Teen Titans 5.
Yeah,
I thought they made a mistake when they split the Teen Titans to Baxter paper, like diluted it.
Yeah, it
was a weird situation.
I don't know because that George Perez left. It just seemed like the beginning of the end.
I know, and I know that was not. It was Jose Luis Garcia Lopez took over, but he really wasn't. Teen Titans really wasn't his book. It wasn't quite right for it. Although he's really so good.
So here's Trigon over here, drawn by Perez. I guess you can't see the eyes too well, but he was pretty intimidating. He was a big baddie. So now that I'm saying this out loud, I'm starting to realize that these characters are more evenly matched than I thought. In the fact that they're,
I think I would have drawn Trigon a little more close.
Of demons, big red guy Belasco, big red guy Trigon. He's literally the father of this character, whereas Belasco was the abducted father figure of that character.
I think in modern times, I think they would these days, because I think they're much more. They would put clothes on Trigon. That's
yeah.
I think suddenly we're in a weird cover you up era in comics.
Yeah, like people look at the original Miss Marvel costume. Well, not the original.
Well, the original had the stomach out,
Yeah.
and they did close that up because people did complain in the 70s.
J.P. Vaughn, Wonder Girl, Donna Troy was an editorial mistake of Wonder Woman's iterations. Was it?
Well, because Wonder Girl, since Wonder after there was always stories about teenage Diana Prince, like in the 40s, but when Charles Moulton stopped writing it, and Robert Kanigher did. Robert Kanigher makes up all his own. They were making up their own canon. There was no canon, so he started doing Wonder Girl, Wonder Baby. They would bend time, and they'd all three of them team up. So when they finally made the Teen Titans, they were going to put Wonder Girl in Teen Titans, but there was not a Wonder Girl. There was a Batman had Robin.
Oh yeah,
Batman had Robin.
There was Wonder Girl stories, but it wasn't a separate.
It wasn't really. Wonder Girl was the adventures, like Superboy.
Right,
it would adventures but it was in the Wonder Woman comic often. But they had to create that one, so she's just like created just for the the original Teen Titans.
Wonder Woman and Wonder Girl have the most convoluted histories of all comic book characters.
Well, they keep trying to make Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman never went. Wonder Woman, Superman, and Batman never had Crisis. They created Earth 2 for them.
Yeah. Heroinberg says Raven was half Jewish. Arella Roth was her mom and half demon. That's a hot combination. Aren't all Jewish girls half demon? She also had 3 half brothers that were woman born. I didn't know that. I didn't realize she had other brothers. I remember that thigh-high metal boots and the teeny tiny loincloth. Yeah.
That loincloth, my God.
George Perez, he was an equal opportunity.
George Perez and Chris Claremont had some weird proclivities.
Yeah, they would draw men in loincloths. They did back then.
It involved wrestling, women wrestling, and naked. The Hellfire Club is something like Chris Claremont went to. Stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, yeah. The Hellfire Club was literally a ripoff of an old episode of the Avengers.
That's right.
Yeah, I just went and watched it the other day just to make sure that I was actually, and it is unbelievable how much it is that episode. Emma Peel was the Black Queen. That's the outfit that she wore.
I have to go get that.
I'm sure Herenberg knows exactly the episode I'm talking about.
Herenberg, yeah, he's the king of TV superwomen.
Now that I'm talking about Raven, so Raven has a story that I think is very similar to Magick. I didn't realize how similar.
It is more similar, isn't it?
Yeah, I didn't realize how similar until I was talking about it. But what are her powers? Her main power is empathy, and whatever is that she was like the healer.
What were her pronouns then?
I don't know. She could read people's minds. She could touch your head. She told you the obvious, like Deanna Troi from Star Trek Next Generation. The Klingons firing a missile at us, Riker says, and then Deanna Troi says, "Yeah, I sense hostility." And everybody just looks at her. It's like there's a freaking missile coming at us.
We had a nickname for her in college.
What was that?
Deanna Troi, Beta Boobs.
The Betazoid. Yeah.
So we used to watch a lot of Next Generation then.
It's funny when it came to the Next Generation. Deanna Troi was a good-looking woman. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, but I like Dr. Crusher.
I like Dr. Crusher too. Yeah, I did like Dr. Crusher.
The thin redhead. That whole.
Yeah, I like Dr. Crusher.
She had that like little smirk, and you know what? I don't know what it is. Dr. Pulaski. I like Dr. Pulaski too.
I just saw her on. I saw Dr. Pulaski and Quincy yesterday.
And for those of you who are laughing at me, watch the original Star Trek. She was in.
Yeah, she was in
2 different episodes. She wore a red wig in one episode, and she wore a blonde wig in another episode. And when it got canceled, Gene Roddenberry said, "Oh, it was a shame. We're not going to get to see her in a brunette wig."
Yeah, well, more than likely, Gene Roddenberry was sleeping with all of them.
Yeah.
I mean, he was sleeping with Uhura. That's why she was the highest paid actor at the beginning of Star Trek.
I think he was also sleeping with. Well, he was sleeping with Roger Barriott. He was also sleeping with Yeoman Brand, I think.
Yep.
Yeah.
He was bad.
Yeah. Herrenberg says, I know my M appeal, but according to Perez, he originally based Raven on Perseus Kambata. Yes, good thing. Yes, Perseus Kambata was the bald chick in the first Star Trek movie who has, in my estimation, she's the only bald chick that is still smoking sexy. To the point, I just watched the movie and I didn't realize it was her. There was a woman, and I'm like, she looks familiar. And I looked it up. I'm like, man, she doesn't look as good with hair as she did bald in Star Trek. I don't know.
Star Trek.
That's the only woman.
Star Trek 1's a tough movie to get through, though.
There's no truth to no beauty in. Yes, that she played the blind woman. And sorry, guys, that is my least favorite episode of all Star Trek. It's a terrible episode. Terrible episode. Yes. Yeah, so let's get back to Raven. She was empathetic. And what did empathetic mean? She could tell everybody's feelings, but she could also like alter your feelings. She could manipulate you. So she was more like tele-empathetic. You know, she could. But her thing was she had the soul Seth, so she could release this like astral form that was like similar but different than Doctor Strange's astral form, and it took this Raven figure, and originally it was black. And what did it do? Whatever the plot required. It would envelop you and crush you. And so it was more like a psychic assault is the way
right.
It was a bird-shaped psychic assault that would just go out, and if she made her saving throw and you failed your saving throw, she would defeat you kind of thing. You know, later on she reformed and she was a white Raven and the soul was white. But what I thought was really cool is George Perez, over the course of the series, drew her more and more demonic, and then drew her pulling the hood down. And when they finally admitted it, I was like, it was brilliant. Like they suddenly changed. So and then two eyes opened up, and it was actually scary.
Right on the top, right.
Yeah, like try. It was really, really cool. I really liked her progression. I do have a soft spot for this character. I admit that I like Raven much more than Alanya. Talking about Alanya made me realize I did like her more than I thought. But this comic is a very personal comic to me. The original George Perez.
Raven was much more of a focus. Alanya was part of the team, and there'd be issues about her. But Raven was a bigger focus. She was with Wally,
right?
And she was really the most powerful member of the team. And that team was underpowered as it was, in a way. So when they went against the bigger threat, the huge threats, that she was kind of the one that had them win a lot.
She was also the Deus Ex Machina character,
right? Exactly.
Like I said, this is one of those things that just it bothers me, but you could get away with it with a character like Raven.
Well,
you don't describe their powers completely. Like, yes, and I'm guilty of it too because I didn't describe the Patriarch's powers in the first issue.
But if you're Mark Wolfman and George Perez, you can get away with it. Other people cannot get away with it. I mean, that's part of the whole thing. And like they're only as powerful as they need to be. In real life, as we've gone with the Flash, in real life, if we talked about the Flash, he's like Superman. He doesn't need a team. That power is actually one of the most powerful things you could be. Is the speed of light is ridiculous.
Right.
That's why they didn't bother with that. They didn't think about it then.
That's why it's Clobbering time. We've never done Flash versus Quicksilver because it's just no contest.
It does. Yeah, Quicksilver just runs fast. Yeah,
and that's why I like Quicksilver better because he's got, like as I always say, a Marvel weakness. He's not that fast. He's fast compared to other people. He could outrun. Could he break the sound barrier these days? Probably. But like when it comes, they made a point to say in combat he has to slow down because otherwise, he can't make all those turns and stuff.
Right. Well,
and there's no Whoopi loves. I was when I saw that Whoopi guy was cast to Next Generation. I didn't start watching the Next Generation until after it was canceled. That's how much I hate Whoopi Goldberg. Even and it's
You
not
hated her back then?
well. I told you the story when I met her.
Oh, that's right. I remember that now. I
Yeah.
didn't remember that.
Yeah, I'll repeat the story quickly but I was working in a building and it was a radio station building in Manhattan that I think was called the Hippodrome is the name of the building, right by Bryant Park.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm in the service and I have a U-boat. If anybody ever worked in a supermarket, so I filled the U-boat with all boxes of electrical equipment. So everything's heavy, everything's steel. I'm pushing this thing up a ramp in the service area, and I can't see because I'm like this, pushing.
Right, you're behind that,
and I just hear, "Excuse me," and I'm like 3/4 up this ramp, and the ramp is only like, like this, and then there's a safety bar so you don't fall off the ramp. You know what I mean? Because it goes up about 12 feet, and I hear, "Excuse me," and I don't know who it is. I don't care who it is. I just go, "I'm pushing this up the ramp. You got to get out of the way. I'm not going all the way." And you just hear, and they back up, and I push up, and it's Whoopi Goldberg and her entourage. And I just gave her a look. I'm like, "Man is working over here. The steps right over there." And I was about to say, "But your fat ass couldn't walk down those steps," But who gets on a ramp when you see that a guy is pushing a big heavy car that expects you to what? Go over? So I didn't like her because of that.
Well, she was pretty insufferable back when she was cast as Next Generation. She was starting on that. I mean, her whole idea was, well, her name is really Karen Johnson.
Oh, yes.
She changed to Whoopi Goldberg, and she was a stand-up comedian. And she got, we all think woke and DEI all started now, but somehow she got to do her own one-woman show on Broadway, and that's how she hit it big. And she was in Sister Act.
Right.
And then that, why do I know that?
I mean, I didn't particularly care until that moment. I'm just like, you all pretend to be on the working man's side until you actually meet the working man.
Exactly, I agree.
So
she
that's
still
why,
pretends.
So so there you go. That was so. Anyway, J.P. Vaughn says a big part of Raven's character was self-control, not giving into her darkest urges lest she become like her father. Yes, that to me was my favorite part of Raven, was that she always, it was like nature versus nurture, that she was like the poster child for that. She was born to be her father's daughter, the devil, for lack of a better term. So this was like, the early 80s. Remember, like that the devil craze of like The Omen and The Exorcist and Rosemary's Baby wasn't too far away. So all of those like witchy, scary movies were in those writers' back, and she was constantly fighting. She liked Wally West, but she didn't want to give in to like lust, because thus therein lies the path to darkness kind of thing. She didn't eat a lot of food. I remember she talked about how she ate just enough to sustain her body, because gluttony, she stayed away from all the 7 deadlies, because everything about her was her father whispering in her ear, to join the dark side, for lack of a better term. And I kind of like that, that she was fighting this. To me, that made her heroic, that she was struggling against what she was destined to be. To be honest, I've seen a ton of Raven cosplay at cons, probably top 5 in terms of heroine characters. Cosplay due to the various Titans cartoons. So technically, yes, I think the Teen Titans and Teen Titans Go cartoons made her very popular. She's a fan favorite.
Yeah, Teen Titans, yeah.
I've never seen any of those cartoons. So she has empathy, whatever that is, and then she has this soul self, and I think even in nowadays she's also learning magic. It just seems like that's what happens. Eventually you're gonna learn magic spells. Does anybody confirm or deny that about that? But I think I recall her, and she also had these rings and earrings that she always wore. And it turned out that they were magic items to help contain and break up the essence of Trigon, which I thought was pretty clever, because she had them from issue number 1. But George Perez said that he only made them up because he likes adding metal elements to superhero designs. You know, that's why Starfire had all that metal on her costume, and Raven. Like, if you notice, George Perez original costumes have metal. You know, even the Disco Nightwing had like those bracelets and stuff like that were metal.
Yeah.
So there we go. So there's the history of the characters. Who are the big baddies? Raven's got Trigon, Magick's got Belasco. So, what is the scenario where they fight? And I know Harrenberg's going to say in a mud pit in a bar someplace in Dallas, Texas, but we'll you know, that's fine and good too. But I see it as like two teams, like either or invading the Earth or a territory war and stuff like that, and you know, and Raven and or I could just see Raven teleports. I mean, Magick shows up and Raven immediately her alarms go off. This is evil. You know, she's got
right.
She's being of whatever, and maybe it triggers her dark senses. And I say, like, they almost fight, almost like just being in each other's presence. Does anybody disagree? Anybody have a better scenario? But I could just see the very presence of Magick in Raven's vicinity just triggering all of her horror senses, and just like we got to mix it up kind of thing. So
I was thinking maybe Raven got sent down to Limbo, and then Magick had to defend Limbo from Ravens going after Belasco.
Yeah, but would Raven defend her going after Belasco? Is she now like Belasco's defender?
Well, Magick is kind of like the leader of,
right.
You know, if she's going to be the evil,
okay.
You know,
Raven hates her demon side, but Magick makes use of hers a lot more. So Raven would just yes, okay,
yeah. That
I can see that. Clever. So yeah. I could see Raven just like, no, this is evil. This is, so, you know, we got to fight. You know, Magick makes no bones about the fact that she's the ruler of Limbo, and there's even times when she grows those big horns and everything like that, you know, and she has the tail and the hoofed feet. So yeah, you're absolutely right, High Lord Zod. I forgot about that. So now they're fighting. How does this fight go? I'm really at a loss. Because,
well, it could go two ways. It could be, I don't think Raven wanted to be physical because she's not really physical.
No, she ain't going to run up and punch back.
I did read that she's good at hand-to-hand combat, but all the heroes are good at hand-to-hand combat.
Right.
You know, that's one of the things.
Wonder, who was trained by Batman. You know what I mean?
I learned a judo throw from Robin last week in the gym. But so whereas Magick is a little more physical. She's got the sword. She wants to get in there, and she take her sword and slice and dice.
Well, this is coming up, Harrenberg. I could just see, like, they start fighting, and the first thing Ilanya is going to do is open up a portal, and they all get thrown into the portal, and that's where they are. So you jumped ahead, Harrenberg. Come on, give me some credit. They're in this. I'm picturing the fight with Anakin and Obi-Wan, you know, but the high ground is more than 8.5 centimeters. You know, just this dark dimension with Kirby. Not Kirby, Ditko-esque backgrounds and
Ditko-esque backgrounds. Yeah, the things.
Yeah,
they're doing this, you know.
Yeah, and now they just got to fight. I could just see,
but
Raven's on edge, right? Because
we think that Raven's more powerful, but Ilyana knows the dark magic.
Yeah.
Well, the magic, they're really much more even.
So I like Ilana teleports them into hell. Boom. I think that would be like her first move, because I think Ilana Magick would recognize the power in Raven too, and she would summon an evil demon by the name of Cooper to pop in. Oh,
see, I think you had some opinions on this, Cooper.
So Cooper, I'll be quiet now. What do you got to say?
Well, I think when you look at Magick, what her dimension is basically, she is running her dimension, and she has an army at her beck and call, and Raven is just kind of like running away from her dimension. She uses the dimensional power, but she's not in charge of her dimension. She's not hiding out from her father, So I I think you got one person that's like ruling their dimension. You got another person that's running from their dimension.
Right.
You know,
But Raven could rule her dimension if she embraced it. But then, you know, yeah, we're hanging with Mr. Cooper now. Yeah, that should be the name of your channel.
it is what it is. I think the rabbit hole fits better.
Yeah, I know. Just busting chops. Does Raven have Batman levels of prep time? Oh God. Yeah.
Oh, prep time. I don't think these two characters work with prep time.
No.
And how powerful is Magick? Magick's magic is compared to, say, Doctor Strange, the Master of Mystic Arts. You think?
Well, Magick really, she's not like her power is comes from her mutant ability. She like makes portals,
Right,
and
right,
and just so happens that when. And so, I mean, when it comes to Magick using, I think she's still, I don't think she has a lot of nuance to her magic using. I think
I
basically.
Just remembered something. I think it was her magic teleportation or her mutant teleportation that attracted Blasco because she opened up links to Limbo.
Yeah, we probably didn't. Right. So we didn't know about her. Nobody knew about her that, she was 7. So it really didn't even come above. Right.
So I see like
and she spent a lot of years, but she spent a lot of years like reaching her level or ruling. Getting over Limbo, she fought her way up from the hard way,
right?
So, she's not an easy person. I mean, she's not like she's a lightweight.
No, not at all.
It was like
very ruthless,
It was like Scott Free having to live on Apocalypse as a child. She became one of those.
Exactly.
Yeah, so I see her. Like if she throws like Sim and all the other demons at her, I really don't see how Raven has a chance. But but like the only thing Raven could do to survive, because I see now she's in basically hell. This Alanya is coming at her with all the powers of hell. This just anime sword, you know what I mean, and maybe antlers and a tail, depending upon how far gone she is. Raven this is either succumb to death or embrace the powers of Trigon. So that's what I see. This is existential survival. This isn't stopping a bank robber. This isn't stopping the Red Skull from a race riot or something like that. This is like I'm gonna get like destroyed in hell kind of thing. So like it's either all out. Like this would be like Spawn sucking energy out of that. So like what have they ever portrayed what her upper levels are because this is what she needs to do to survive this, because a little bit of soul sword, a little bit of a soul self and a little bit of empathy ain't gonna do crap now that we got Limbo beings. Is anybody
well, you got one that's operating from a place of power and another one that's operating from a place of restraint, and
right.
So I'm not. Yeah, I'm not saying that Raven's not formidable. I mean, if Raven, just embraces it all, she's going to be a huge threat to anybody or anything. She's kind of like Hellboy in that way.
Right.
The only thing keeping her from like really being the big bad is her own like determination. And Magick is just kind of like embracing that part of herself, just completely embracing it. So
I don't see any scenario where Raven walks away from this one.
No,
in my mind, but you just made me think.
I think that everybody thought it would be different when we started this.
What's that?
I thought that everybody would think that Raven was going to be the walk away winner.
Well, that's what a lot of people said at the beginning. If I scroll all the way to the top,
when you started reading about it,
Raven wins.
How she ended up being. Even though she did die of the legacy virus for about a decade.
Hail Raven. Because, again, the ability to not just teleport, but to, like, teleport
objects and people in. Like, if she uses Sim, and it's kind of like fighting the Dread Dormammu. Is she going to use the mindless ones on you?
Like, Raven controls the field of battle, the environment, I mean, not Raven. Magick controls that. Just imagine, you think you're going to fight in Gotham City, and next thing you know, Batman's on Jupiter. Who's winning that fight? You know,
Well, if it's sci-fi Batman
Right.
from the 50s.
yeah, 50s Batman has some anti-Jupiter repellent, but you know what I'm talking about? Like, yeah.
Well, I mean, it's like
Under
last
week-
week we didn't. Go ahead.
Oh, Heroenberg says under weaknesses, it even says Raven is also susceptible to overwhelming mystical forces, even though she controls chaos magic. Yeah, so I really, as much as I like Raven more, I think people have been seeing me in clobbering time where I like the other guy, but I got to go with, you know, the
Right.
character. But I will say, thanks to Cooper now, as the kids say, shipping. I am now shipping Hellboy and Raven.
Well, I'm thinking of Wally West and Eliana. Jeez, I think Wally have to be with Raven. I think the horns and tail are a relief.
Yeah, and Ilanya might finally give him what he always wanted that he couldn't get from Raven.
Yeah, exactly.
I always like that slightly exotic, like Indian look on Raven. I always thought she was like just like a smoldering, sexy character. You know, like there was Starfire who was just like overtly sex personified. Then there was Donna who was like the wholesome one. You know, they were all sexy in different ways, but there was like I always thought like Raven. There was
Didn't Nightwing sleep with all of them eventually?
If he slept with Donna, I'll be pissed because they were like, you know, hugging each other, calling each other like brother and sister when she married.
Well, I mean, when your first name, your first name is Dick. I mean, come on, you know.
Back then, like that was a fine name for the longest time in my lifetime. People were named Dick, and now it's terrible. You know.
Yeah, there you go.
Right,
yeah.
But is anybody? I think the only character to rival Terry Long's hatred is now this new character Paul in Spider-Man. But
why would she marry that pussy? Jeez Louise.
Terry Long
was not one of Marvel's
self-insert. How creepy!
Yeah.
He was really creepy.
At what power level does? See, that's what I asked. To know, is there any like a precedent in the comics where she does go like Trigon mode and just wipes out stuff? So unless somebody could be like, yeah, in issue 14, she freaking took out the forces of Neptune. You know, I don't see, because at her most powerful, all she really did was contain Trigon.
Well, you know, it's like last week we were talking about Lex Luthor versus Doctor Doom. On paper, it looks like Doctor Doom would just like wipe the floor with him, but then when you get into the fact that Doom would be too arrogant to see Lex Luthor as a threat, that threat, and Luthor, you know, given enough time, is going to like find a way, and it just became, it kind of like switched it a little bit. In this case, you got Raven, who raw power wise is probably more dangerous than Magick, but when you look at how, you know, Magic's embraced, you know, who she is, she's embraced this role that she plays, and Raven is just like operating from a place of I don't want to go that far. I don't want to go that far.
I'm afraid of what I could do. Tony Grigo says he never liked the self-insert of Marv Wolfman as Terry Long. Nobody did.
Right.
Nobody did. And he meant to say Slade being an underage. Yeah, well, Slade was supposed to be a bad guy, piece of shit murderer.
Yeah, but that's really bad. I mean, that's something you really shouldn't go there in a comic.
Right.
But, you know, you could do things like that. And, you know, in the 80s.
But also, like, I just love the fact that people are like, oh, he could kill Wintergreen, you know, his best buddy and friend, and nobody cared. But, oh, he sleeps. They're both wrong. They're both horrible. Right. Slade is a piece of crap. I don't know how we could like accept him as a hero later on, you know.
They accept him because a hero because Deadpool was a hero.
Right.
That's why that they have to equal that out.
But he was a murdering. Deathstroke the Terminator was a murdering pedophile. He's an irredeemable bad guy.
Well, when you go back and look,
what did he have a comic that lasted over 100 issues, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But when you go back and look at Deathstroke, he always had an underage woman near him or underage girl somewhere nearby.
Yeah, he divorced.
We always missed it. Yeah,
he divorced Adrian, you know, the mother of Grant, you know, because what did she age out or something?
She's a
this
little
is
like Leonardo DiCaprio.
Ravens. Yeah. So Oscar, unless somebody could give us an example of like ultimate, power level of Raven, I don't see how Magick takes this.
I think the perception is Raven's more powerful than she ever showed, because she was so afraid about how much she was going. Oh my god, the whole time, that we think that she's like Thor level power or whatever it would be, because of and her, of course, Trigon was huge. So that there's a villain that the Teen Titans have no business beating.
I mean, this is the only. So I see Raven just overwhelmed or whatever. So the only way I could see her winning is she just freaks out, releases her soul self, and wraps up Magick.
Well, if
and
that's
then
the case,
the only way is Magick like inside. Like, is she ashamed of what she became? Like, I could see like, and then maybe Magick.
I don't know. I think that Magick is when she lets herself go way more than Raven. I mean, that's been shown in the New Mutants and
well, if Raven wrapped around Magick would immediately teleport them both to the other dimension,
right?
Her
to
home
Limbo,
dimension.
Yeah, we said that earlier.
I mean, because if you remember Magick's the way her teleportation works is these discs that basically so it's not strictly a portal, it's these discs that come up, and so if Raven's wrapped around her, she would just teleport them both.
Well,
RR
says something interesting.
Yeah, we'll get to it. I just want to from it. Is Slade Wilson that Earth's version of Leo DiCaprio? If you drew Slade with the dad bod, yes, because Leo has let himself go lately. Mm-hmm. Raven has Trigon, but Magick has an entire That's kind of what, because we already said that the first move is Magick teleports to Limbo, where she can control the environment, set the field of battle, and one of her weaknesses is she's susceptible to mystic energy. So I would see Raven. So the only way Raven could win is I could see Raven so overwhelmed and crushed that she just the attacks Raven, and it has to be like all or nothing, and would that defeat Magick? That's the only way I see.
So I like when Raven's dad shows up. I'm thinking Raven's dad shows up and tries to sleep with Magick the way this thing's going.
Yeah, but if Raven's dad shows up, then that's not Raven versus Magick. That's Raven's dad. That's like Silver Surfer versus.
Well, talk about shipping.
Silver Surfer versus Superman. But if Galactus shows up, well, that's another fight.
I will say I don't like the word shipping. That's one of my words. That's on my list, John.
I know that I said it to be annoying. Yes,
I know. I realize that.
Yeah, there's a couple of words that just drive it. Shipping is if you say shipping and you
mid. I don't like mid. What mid? Mid. I hate
funny.
That.
Mid drives me crazy too. Mid.
Yeah,
and
mid drives me crazy.
I love all
because
these
it's usually somebody says somebody's mid is usually like on the lower end of things, and it's like, who are you calling anybody mid?
Partially, yeah.
It's some nose picking guy sitting there with the shirt that with his belly stick. That girl is mid. I'm like, dude.
Anna Taylor-Joy is just mid.
Mid.
Let me see the last girl you banged.
Mid. I don't like mid. I don't like booty. Booty's overdone. I don't like badass.
You know what drives me nuts?
I accept it because everybody says it, but I'm like, oh.
Hey, check out this bad boy.
I'm a badass proponent.
I hate when people say that.
A lot.
It depends who it's from. Like, I forgive you and Billy Tucci,
Well, she is a badass, so there you go.
But I personally like the 2003 Teen Titans show. I didn't watch it. I didn't see it.
Yeah, they had a very cool season finale where Trigon took over and they had to defeat him.
Riz is
the cartoon show. I did see that.
Yeah,
it was good.
But then again, back in my day, back when I was in college, we didn't say Riz. They said Mac. That guy could Mac on chicks.
Yes, they did. That's right, Mac.
So Mac was the original. There's a character, Mac Riz, the guy.
Mac Riz, that's a good character. Hold on.
Holy crap!
Come up with a character.
Agent of Fools.
We need characters.
The real winner is those two. Is a Clea who's the true. Clea, and Clea comes out and wins it all.
Clea.
They made her Sorcerer Supreme, didn't they? Didn't they like replace Dr. strange with her.
Mid-grift. Grift is another word. If you use the word grift, you automatically lose the argument.
Today, here's something interesting about language, and then I'm going a little off of the word groom. So they the New York Yankees, I know you're not sports fans, but they decided to get rid of their facial hair policy. They're going to allow the players to have neat beards. That was a official policy since 1973. Mm-hmm. So it's been very controversial because everybody wants to wear beards now. So they finally said this again, and it says, but it has to be groomed. You and Cooper, we all know what groom means, but the guy that I was watching on podcast said, and he's he's in his 30s, people were texting him and DMing him, why would they use the word groomed? Groom doesn't mean anything. What does groomed mean?
You groom your beard, yeah.
But they were talking about groom a chick or something.
Well, it's from the same root, taking care of and in shaping.
Right. So like that was the weird thing about language, Like groom is a completely different thing. I don't like that sweeping and felting. What the heck is that?
Oh my God. Standing. What the hell does standing mean?
Well, I still use groovy.
Groovy is perfect.
Yeah, groovy.
I will never give up groovy. Groovy will never leave my lips.
She was the true. That's
there you go.
Yeah. Busy night of I've been talking all day long.
Rad, man. It's rad.
Anything to avoid doing the 30 hours of ocean.
Rad's okay, but they don't use grad. I don't like cringe. Yeah, cringe. Tony Grego, cringe.
People use the grift completely. Yeah.
Logic's fine is absolutely right.
Anybody uses the grift. And if anybody who says that girl is like they show a picture of Kate Upton without makeup on, she's
oh my God, they did that to Sweeney.
Yeah, Sydney Sweeney. I said the wrong one.
Sydney Sweeney, Logic's finest favorite. They did it without makeup. I didn't recognize. Like, wow, who was that?
Right.
And he said, "Oh, it's Sydney Sweeney." They were like ripping. I'm like, and the first thing was like, "Wow, who was that?"
If I'm at the diner with my wife and Sydney Sweeney without makeup comes up to me to ask me my burger, I'm keeping my head down. I don't need. She's a beautiful woman, whatever.
Well, it's like Adrian Curry. She was the winner of the first Models, whatever that show was. She won the first season of it, and she is a gorgeous woman, but she's kind of aged herself. But she's aged naturally. But I see pictures of her, and I'm like, that's a gorgeous woman. Yeah. But they're like, wow, she's let herself go because she's on the conservative side of things now, so they want to badmouth her. But they're like, well, she's let herself go, and I was like, her letting herself go is better looking than all of your liberal females.
What are you banging? They showed a picture.
I know, it's terrible.
Exactly.
They showed a picture of Selena Gomez when she was like 17, 18 years old. Sexy, good-looking girl, svelte, whatever. And then they showed a picture of her now, and I'm like, wow, she's got some nice. Well, she looks great.
Part of that is
like she let herself go. This is what happens to Hispanic women. I'm like,
but she didn't really let herself go. That's a medical thing. Great. That's also. I think she looks great. She's on HG. She was on Food Network doing some food shows. She looked great. Yeah. But it's also a medical thing. She takes medicine.
Yeah, she takes that medicine that makes her face swell up. So I could see that being a problem for her.
Well, she's got her own issues, but
her whole job is being cute and wholesome and hot and everything. So yeah, I forget the actress that took that, and she disappeared for 2 or 3 years. I understand when your whole job is based on your physical appearance. Yeah, but you know what? She still looks great.
Yeah.
If my buddy showed up, if this is my new wife, I'd be like, lucky bastard.
So basically, you're saying that the three of us don't have that problem, huh, John?
I'm just saying.
I am not calling anybody mid. I am not calling anybody mid.
Well,
and even ironically. So.
Well, my wife runs marathons. I can't. I'm not allowed to use that language.
You know what I mean? Mid. Call it freaking Sweeney without makeup. Look at her. She's mid. What? Yeah, right. You these guys probably look like what's that horrible thing that I keep seeing on the internet? Something Gorlock the Destroyer,
That's a guy, by the way.
God.
I know. That's what I'm saying. That's what's calling the other people mid.
Dude, yeah.
Said what?
Exactly.
Well, that's just the whole thing is ridiculous.
I wanted to show this. So I don't know. I do think the only chance we'll finish up Raven, and I think the only chance Raven has is can the soul self envelop Magick and defeat her. I mean it was kind of like
Who won
could do
between
it to try-
Ghost Rider and Spawn? I missed that one.
Oh,
Who'd you guys decide?
what do we say? Spawn.
I think you said
Oh,
Spawn.
Okay. Yeah,
But I
Spawn is
wanted-
pretty OP, yo. I'll give you that.
Yeah,
Spawn is pretty powerful.
I wanted to show this.
He's just poorly written. That's the problem with Spawn.
Yeah. So this is a database of all the Marvel United stuff. This. Oh, they got DC here. So this, I got all of these, and I was looking for a database, but this will work. But this is the core season. You can see all the characters. So this is the game that I've been playing all week, and I'm going to continue playing it. I finally beat the Kingpin today. Can you believe the Kingpin was tougher to beat than Doctor Doom? Yeah, but so this is the core set. The Infinity Gauntlet. So they have all of the Infinity Gauntlet characters.
That's pretty cool. I saw some of that. I was working, so I couldn't really look into it as much as. Cool. I apologize whenever I don't get to see all your stuff.
Marvel Tales of Asgard. So, Loki's. That wonderful Valkyrie character that played by that charming actress that everybody loves. Guardians of the Galaxy. So this will be pretty cool. Although I want the
Sorry,
original
I had a hairball. Sorry.
I want the original Star-Lord, the John Byrne Star-Lord, Wakanda.
Well, how about the original Star on the Steve Englehart one that used to murder people?
Yeah, the big guy who murdered people to become a superhero.
Yeah.
Enter the Spider-Verse. So this is 900 billion versions of Spider-Man. But this is interesting. This is the Return of the Sinister Six. This is you can actually have six villains. This has got to be tough. I got to play Mysterio. Now this, I feel bad because this is the Marvel United. This was the stretch goal box. So if you kickstarted it, I'm talking. This box is like huge, thick, and it's like $100 or so to get this, and it has some really key characters. I mean, this is all this has the Punisher, Scarlet Witch, War Machine, Rhino, Dread Dormammu. So I don't know if this is available, but like when Simon does this,
I love the Dread Dormammu.
Simon does when you kickstart their stuff. It really like you'll pay like $300, but you get so much stuff. I mean, it took 2 years because they would ship in waves, and for like 2 years I was getting stuff. Like you can't keep up with it. I did not play. I backed almost everything Simon put out. The name of the company is Simon. Up until maybe like 2 years ago is when I stopped. I don't think there's any game where I played with every component of their stuff. They really give you a lot. These people, yeah. This is Marvel United. This is the core set. So you could buy this in a store. It's like $20. This is the base X-Men. The Horsemen of the Apocalypse. So this has all of those characters. This is the original X-Men. I gotta break this out and play with this. This looks so much fun. Marvel United Blue Team and Gold Team. So you got Rogue, Gambit. Yeah. So by the time you're done, it's almost every Marvel character.
Oh, X-Force. That's the one I want.
There you go with all your favorite characters. You got Cable, one of the best characters ever made.
Yep, awesome.
Yeah, we got the Phoenix 5, which I just hate the concept of the Phoenix 5.
But if it's fun for this game,
Yeah.
Oh, Deadpool, God.
Deadpool.
Oh, by the way, the Magic was one of the Phoenix 5, by the way.
Yep, there she is over here. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So that's her as with the Phoenix powers. What do we got here? We got the Deadpool expansion.
Okay.
That'll probably stay in shrink wrap for a long time. Now this is cool. This is X-Men Days of Future Past. It comes with the big Sentinel figure. And you could play with up to 3 Sentinel figures to make it really, really tough. But this is like Old Man Logan and the future versions. I played the Fantastic Four all week. It comes with the Fantastic Four, the Silver Surfer, Doctor Doom, and this.
Does it come with the woman Silver Surfer?
No, but this is season 2 stretch goal box. So you can see it's got like Weapon X, Havoc, all of the Kitty Pryde and Nightcrawler.
So this is like a card game? Is that what it is?
No, it's little miniatures. Little miniatures.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Multiverse. This has got all the characters nobody cares about, except it does have Immortus in it.
Ah.
Like Agent Carter. The Coming of Galactus? So this has all the heralds and a
I
big.
love that TV show, Agent Carter. By the way,
I gotta watch
Agent
that.
Carter is a good show.
that's
Yeah,
a great. I was upset when I really liked that show,
Yeah.
and of course I liked the Agents of Shield after it got really good. Second half of season 2. First season they were like villain of the week. They were like, we're not sure what's going on. When they started with actually the multiverse and all that helped them out a lot.
Yeah,
I liked it up until Coulson died, and then he came back from another dimension. I hate that. War King.
Yeah, but it did say, well, that like what was Coulson? That was a big mystery at that point too. They weren't that comfortable with him, and there was like it broke all the rules, and I still liked it. The little girl, the little what's her name? I forget her name. She learned enough, and the women could beat up 300-pound men. Yeah. But I'm like, okay, she has superpowers. That's all you had to say. They gave her superpowers. Right. So I kind of accepted that, but generally I don't like that at all.
I got to break open this box because it has the Imperial Guard and the Inhumans.
Nice.
Age of Apocalypse, a story
they ruined the Inhumans. Jesus Christ.
Civil War box. Secret
they
Invasion
did.
box, like scroll versions.
That was Perlmutter, though.
Annihilation. So this is
the worst thing he's ever done.
Annihilation was a good.
Usually I like what he does, but
you guys are into Maximum Carnage, right? That was.
I remember Maximum Carnage. Yeah, I bought
World War Hulk.
I liked World War Hulk
with the Sentry and Hercules and Ares. I got to break that out. This is Spider-Geddon.
What is opposed to the other Spider one?
Yeah, so this is just like more, just Spider Noir, whatever. Witching Hour. I didn't. This isn't. Yeah. This is just alternate cards. This is the only thing I'm missing. This is season 3 stretch goals, so this is like more multiverse. So
you kickstarted this one?
Yeah. Cool. So this is actually the first time I'm seeing this. This is DC United. So I just kickstarted this, and I just kickstart, and I don't look. I don't read any. It just shows up one day, and I'm like, oh yeah. So Teen Titans. There we go. We got Trigon and Raven. So we could actually have a Magic versus Alana in DC United.
There you go.
Metropolis.
There you go.
Oh, this is a lot of stuff.
The Justice Society. Oh my God!
You might be subsidizing the big 2. You might be the reason they're still.
I love the characters in the comics. I just don't like what they've been doing recently. Arkham Asylum Breakout.
Yeah.
War of Light. So this is all the different Green Lanterns. Batman Hush.
Oh, that'd be cool. I like.
Yeah, and Kickstarter. So there you go.
Hush is good.
So I beat the Kingpin tonight. It's funny because I used a card, and then somebody told me I used the card incorrectly. But then I looked it up, and the designer said no. That was the way you were supposed to use it. So I officially beat the Kingpin. So tomorrow my buddies are coming over. We're gonna play a game. But when they leave, Marcus, you'll like this. It's going to be Howard the Duck, Man-Thing, and I have to have 3 characters. So who would work with Howard the Duck and Man-Thing?
Jennifer. You could.
I don't think they have Jennifer Carroll.
Howard the Duck, Man-Thing,
and I want maybe Shang-Chi.
Doctor Strange.
Doctor Strange. Okay. So I
would say I'd say maybe Iron Fist, maybe.
Iron Fist.
That's a good one. That mystical and
LT. What's the match for next week? Good question. What do we think about next week?
Yeah. Oh man, next week. This is the hardest part of the show.
That's why I outsource it to you guys. In most fights, I'm finding with Magic, she takes the loss to most spellcasters. Amora, Doctor Strange, until she takes him to Limbo. That's how she takes the win. Yeah, I if Magic doesn't go to Limbo, Raven wins. I think.
Yeah.
Oh wow! Here's a deep cut. Who's stronger, Mad Jim Jaspers or the Beyonder? Before I say anything, do you guys remember Mad Jim Jaspers or even know who he's talking about?
I think I read something on him before. He was like a omnipotent being or something?
Yeah, wasn't he the in Excalibur? Like he was so omnipotent.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You could do Q versus the Beyonder.
Yeah, that's a tough. I don't know. I still say the Beyonder. Mad Jim, because he's mad. He's not focused. We got
Oh, you
Terrax.
probably don't know Q. Have you gotten to that part of the Next Generation Q?
Me? Yeah, of course. We
Q
did.
versus Beyonder.
We did the Q verse Beyonder, didn't we?
We did. Oh, that's right. I forgot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Once
because
they screwed up the Inhumans on TV, you knew the Eternals were DOA.
well, that's hard to understand. Like the Eternals are hard to understand. They should have just never done the Eternals.
Right.
You know, like
No.
Marvel didn't. They weren't made to be in the Marvel universe. You know, Roy
I
Thomas had to shoehorn them in.
I've got a possibility for you.
Sure.
Huntress versus what is her name? The chick with the size.
Elektra.
Elektra.
Well, I think that's a good one. We've done Elektra before, but not versus Huntress. Didn't we do Elektra versus somebody?
Where are these minis? You could buy the base sets on Amazon. You could go to the CMON website and buy them, but not everything is still available. Unfortunately, some of these boxes are like expensive. Like the Fantastic Four is on eBay for like $60, you know. But CMON always does re-releases. So when I notice that they're redoing releases or whatever, I'll alert people with my channel. That reminds me, did you see the rumor that Paul, the random dude in comics, becomes the next? I saw that, but I don't care about
the random dude.
Now, all I got to say is
they're making Eddie Brock to Carnage now.
Yeah.
I saw that advertised. Eddie Brock is Carnage.
You know,
my neck just
anything to sell. Did you guys see that they were going to retrofit Marvel, Ms. Marvel into all the X-Men,
into the whole entire
redo this whole thing?
Yeah.
Now I was just like,
are they really trying to make her happen? They're still trying to make her happen.
And the thing is, like, you know, and they say, okay, this person I never heard is going to write it, and then Adam Kubert's going to draw it. I go, he should be ashamed of himself. He should have enough money to be able to say no to that. Jesus.
Yeah.
He should say no. That's ridiculous.
I didn't know that Jim Jaspers has to have material to work with, according to Alan Moore. But so the Beyonder literally create nothing. So yeah,
they're basically going to do a timeless Children to X-Men. That's what they're going to do.
Well,
I mean, they're basically going to say this is true all along. Everything that you knew was a lie. This person was there all along. You know
that never goes well. I mean, they try to do it with Spider-Man, right?
It didn't work when they did it with what's his name with the blonde hair and the Sentry.
Oh, the Sentry.
It didn't work when they did it with the Sentry.
People like the Sentry though.
I do like
him. I mean, he wasn't a bad character, but
I'm going to call it now. I think Thunderbolts is going to be a good movie.
I heard you're not the first one to say that. Other people have said that.
I mean, the Nerdrotic and all those guys are already like, oh, it's a stupid idea, but I'm like, it's got the best characters from the last 5 years in it. You know,
Zach is right about that. They just hate everything Disney does, and whatever they do is bad. And I've heard from sources that, you know, the Captain America movie is not great, but it's watchable. You know, it's not like the world's worst. It wasn't Marvel's. I'm not going out to see it.
They should have gave it to Bucky. I mean, there's no doubt
they should have gave it to Bucky. Yeah.
I mean,
I don't have Disney Plus, so I don't watch any of the TV shows.
Yeah.
As long as Sana Amana works at Marvel, they will keep trying to make.
I don't know if she's still working.
I don't think she works for Marvel anymore. I think she was just.
She moved over to the MCU. She was working with Victoria Alonso, but they got rid of Victoria Alonso, so I don't know where she is now. But she's connected up the wazoo all the way to the Clintons, so if she's not going anywhere, she doesn't want to go.
I'm asking Grok if she's still
connected to the Clintons. Well, maybe she got some USAID money, and we'll get rid of her.
Well, she might have been the monkey's paw that they had to take on board to get the USAID money.
Maybe she went to Epstein Island. We'll find out soon.
I guess we'll find out, won't we?
We'll find it out.
I know Huma Aberdeen and Hillary Clinton were on the Jets. So
it's funny because Grok says that nobody knows exactly what she works or what she does. But
she's on the road. She gets paid. I mean,
yeah,
she's like Kathleen Kennedy. I mean, no matter how bad she screws up, she can't get fired. So
she literally grew up in a house with Huma Abedin, who was Hillary Clinton's campaign manager. You know, her brother was a Hollywood. He was like a Harvey Weinstein, not the fact that he did the sexual stuff, but he was a
producer
in Hollywood. But
her brother is behind the squad, behind all those chicks entering into Congress at the same time. Her brother's behind that.
Slowly but surely, we're going to get rid of those chicks. Jesus.
Yeah.
They're the worst.
Yeah, seriously. They are really bad. Really bad.
Santa's an executive at Marvel Studios. So she still works at Marvel. See, I thought she was gone, but Grok just told me that, yes, she works at Marvel Studios. So, yeah, so they ain't going to get rid of her.
She's never going to be gone.
Right.
She will not be gone. I mean, she'll probably still get a paycheck from Marvel after Marvel gets dissolved and you know, parceled out. She's never going to be gone.
We're going to have less and less bad superhero movies and more bad historical and mythological movies, which the zeitgeist is changing. I think the Kevin Nolan film, The Odysseus, is going to start it. You know, they already started with Gladiator 2, but they're also going to be bad. So be prepared for some bad.
Kevin Nolan really doesn't make bad movies, but some of the casting seems kind of strange.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, he makes good movies all the way around, right? I mean, he's known for that. But the casting seems a little off.
So I know I sent my wife of good potentials for It's Clobbering Time. So let's see. It's funny that's what I talked to my wife about. Who would be good on It's Clobbering Time? So I'm scrolling down to find the list. So who next week? Oscar keeps seeing Mephisto versus Trigon, but we kind of just did Trigon this week. So I'm looking at past ones.
I mean, if you want to go for like people who played Captain America at one time, you get to go Winter Soldier versus U.S. Agent.
That's a good one. Are we ready for Thanos versus Darkseid? That was one that was popular. People said save that.
But all the ones that are so big powered,
overpowered. I mean,
they could just take out like everything.
There's really
how about
it's like when they get to a certain power level, it's like whoever's riding them is however they're going to win. You know.
Yeah, but that's every comic book. Sergeant Rock versus Sergeant Fury.
We could do that.
Savage Dragon versus Wolverine.
I don't know. There's much of a difference there.
Sergeant Rock and Sergeant Fury versus. There's a difference because Sergeant Rock is in more semi-realistic positions at some point.
Conan versus Kull.
Aren't they the same person?
No,
I think Conan's like an ancestor. I mean, Kull is his ancestor. I think
Kull's an ancestor of Conan. But that's very similar.
Conan, But Cole's more of a politician, more of a more of a structured guy than Conan. Conan's not going to win any debates with anybody. Cole could. So,
well, until Conan becomes King Conan, and he's more like Cole.
Roscoe Simmons. He was
there you go.
Where was Roscoe Simmons' cap? I'm going blank on that.
He was the cap that got killed. He took over when Steve Rogers was Nomad.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
He was just a kid, and the Red Skull killed him as in
the Red Skull's defense, his name was Roscoe Simmons.
I had a dog named Roscoe. How dare you?
Roscoe P. Coltrane is my spirit animal. How dare you, sir?
I know this is a good one. How about Catwoman versus Black Cat?
Catwoman versus Black Cat.
Which Black Cat? The 40s Black Cat? That's interesting.
Nah, the Marvel Felicia Hardy. Yeah.
Lee Elias, Black Cat.
Who wins? Heroinberg wins this one.
Harvey. The Harvey.
Okay.
This is a good one.
Actually, I think that would be a good one. I just think that would be a good one. Yeah.
The 1982 Teen Titans. So like Marvel.
How about Teen Titans versus the New Mutants? That would be more parallel because the New Mutants were like written as kind of like a response to the popularity of the Teen Titans. So
what? So I all right. So 1982 Teen Titans versus 1982 X-Men or the New Mutants. What does the chat think?
Well,
This
I think
is a good one.
the better. Yeah, that's the chat, but I think the better fight is the X-Men and New Mutants. The X-Men and New Mutants would just get smushed.
Yeah.
They're not that powerful.
Yeah. So we'll do the
Wolfman X-Force versus New Mutants. How about that?
I will do Wolfman and Perez Teen Titans versus Byrne Claremont X-Men.
Well, Burton was off it by then, wasn't he? Isn't that
we'll do the that classic run. So we'll do up to when Kitty Pryde joins. How's that?
That sounds good.
Okay. That'll be fun to talk about. Although I immediately know which team is going to win unless people can talk our way around it. No Alanya.
Well.
No Alanya. So I'm just going to write this down so I don't forget. Teen Titans.
Basically, this Alan Scott versus Hal Jordan.
Yeah, that's a good one too.
How about post-crisis? Alan Scott wants to sleep with Hal Jordan.
He wouldn't need prep time. He would need prep.
Yeah.
He would. He would need prep. Preparation H.
So let's limit it. Basically, the crossover, the Teen Titans.
Apologies tonight, so I have to say stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, the crossover, the X-Men Teen Titans crossover. Those will be the teams. The X-Men crossover. So instead of
if you want the more powerful New Mutants,
that's a good
go with X-Force. And I mean,
That's
X-Force
true. You would go with X-Force. X-Force was more powerful.
Yeah, that could handle the New.
Except that might be painful for that could be painful for me and John actually too.
No, okay.
That would involve some pain.
So we'll close it down. Anything anybody want to say before we end up? Oh, this just made me laugh. Alan Scott versus Groot.
Well, I was noodling this while if you guys want to see.
Sure.
So this is page 3 of Toklo Emergent for Mythic Americas.
Cool.
And that's the goddess Sedna. It's actually Inuit goddess. It's an Inuit tale.
Yeah.
And Toklo helped save her. Mm-hmm. The goddess of Sedna with her. She was hanging off the boat, and her father cut her fingers off it here, and then she sunk, and the fingers became the sea mammals, and she was saved by the sea mammals in Toklo. It's part of the Mythic America's tabletop game that they paint little figures and stuff. And so in her hair, I've drawn the sea mammals and stuff. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, myths are weird, but that's what I like about them. They're fun.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, it's kind of based on the myth. It's like all these stories are allegories. This one's kind of fun. It's just all splash pages and stuff.
So there we go.
Gotcha.
That is now one of the outer planetoids. It's cold out there. Yes, they use that name for what do they call them? Dwarf planets. Yeah, Groot was a villain in his first appearance. He wanted to conquer the Earth. I think it was where the monsters prowl. Yes.
Well, in the 50s too. Yeah.
And,
right.
So there you go. And those of you who don't know why that's funny, because Alan Scott's original weakness was wood. So Groot would just stab him. And that's the end of that.
I like the Sedna's weird. My mother's name was Sidna with a Y, and this is Sedna with an E. So it's kind of weird to be working on something like this.
Cooper, anything you want to promote?
Cryptids and Conspiracies. Tomorrow night we're going to talk about, is Blucifer evil?
Blucifer?
So, the blue Mustang statue outside of the Denver International Airport with the red.
Okay. I didn't know that was.
They call it Blucifer. Yeah,
and you might want to investigate this. Tony Grigo was telling me that there's been Sasquatch sightings in the foothills in Albuquerque now. So
Albuquerque.
That's not.
Said that to Leprosy.
Well, I'm sure Wiki Fever knows about it.
That's not book. That's my friend Kevin. Just he's Irish and he doesn't shave. He's very hairy. All right, so I'm going to close it down, everybody. Next week we'll do the a very specific team of X-Men versus a very
Oh, I'm
specific.
going to be on the studio again tomorrow,
Oh, there you go.
and we're doing. I forget what we're going to maybe do a new logo.
You're doing
for
the logos for Fund My
Fund My
Comics,
Comic.
right?
Oh, cool.
And another one last week. We did do community services. Colonel
Yep.
Ironsides. That was a lot of fun.
Ironsides,
I
yeah.
still have. I want to figure out a
Mhm.
background for that. I had a lot of great time with that character, Cooper. Thank you.
I
Yeah.
might go get
He's
something
he's
to eat.
great. He's fun to draw. Fun to
He
draw.
really is.
I might go grab something to eat and then come back around 11 or so and just do another Marvel United. And I'll throw out a link if anybody wants to join and play.
Oh, all right, cool.
Yeah, but I got to go get something to eat.
Okay.
My stomach is growling. All right.
Okay, I can hear it.
Probably.
Yeah.
All right. Good thing you can't smell me.